We'll next discuss key tools of lean. Again, we can think of lean as a toolbox. When we're looking to improve a process, we can pull the lean tools that we need to fix it. And another good analogy is a medikit that contains the essentials for treating a medical emergency. We don't know what that next emergency will be, but our medikit will have the key tools to initially treat it. The first tool is a pull workflow. Essentially, pull means that we don't produce until the customer needs it, until they demand it. So production is triggered by a customer order. And Kanbans are signals such as cards, empty bins, or digital notifications that authorize the new work to start. In contrast, traditional US production generally follows a push. A push keeps producing ahead of demand, and they're doing that to achieve economies of scale. The idea is keep making stuff to keep the labor and machines busy. Takt time, TAKT, takt, means that we want the cycle time, the time to produce one item to match the rate of demand. So we make what's needed by the customer as they request it. So that's pull production, produce when the customer asks for it, not before. That means we have to be prepared to make whatever the customer wants. So rather than make many of the same items at once, we'll make each item as it's demanded. That's the idea of one piece flow. Our batch size is one. We make one item at a time as the customer needs it. That means we have to have fast setups, also called changeovers. It means we're switching from making one item to another. And in doing so, we may have to change out equipment or tools, recalibrate machines, maybe clean, load the new materials, and so forth. So at home, for instance, we sometimes enjoy make to order breakfast with the kids. And one kid might order a deluxe omelet, and then another orders scrambled eggs and bacon. And in between the two orders, we need a setup, a changeover, meaning we got to clean the pan, maybe add a second pan, and prep the new ingredients. The term SMED, single minute exchange of die, represents that fast changeover. The problem with a changeover is that we're not producing anything. That is, we're incurring costs without sales, without revenue, and that's bad. Generally, we want our equipment and labor to be producing as often as possible, and changeovers counter that goal. And a great analogy for this changeover challenge is a Formula One pit stop. They change the tires and refuel in a matter of seconds to get back into the race faster. So traditional manufacturing addresses the changeover challenge by having as few changeovers as possible. So they produce as many of the same items at the same time as possible. But then the challenge is that all that extra production sits in inventory until the customer wants it, if they ever want it. Let's consider an example of making cars. So we'll make yellow sedans and green crossovers and blue sports cars. In traditional Western or US manufacturing, we'd maybe first produce all the yellow cars and then endure a long setup, a long changeover to the next model. And then we produce all green cars. And then we'd have another long setup until the next model. And then we start making the blue cars and then incur another long setup back to restart producing the yellow cars. Again, we want to produce as many of the same cars at once as possible to minimize the number of costly changeovers. However, if we can reduce the duration of the setup, the changeover, then we're significantly less concerned about the number of setups. In fact, we could produce just one item or just a few items at a time as the customer wants them without incurring high setup costs. That's one piece flow, single piece flow. With a faster changeover, we can maybe make one yellow car as the customer wants it, then quickly change over and make two green cars as demanded by customers, change over, then make another yellow car, change over to a blue, and so forth. The quick changeover, the quick setup allows one piece workflow. It means that we produce what the customer wants as they request it. That way, we'll be very agile and won't be stuck with cars that customers don't yet want. So think about the car dealers that you see. They have lots that are typically overstocked with cars. Some of those may not sell for months. That is not a pull workflow. Lots of inventory is not lean. The second tool is Kaizen, which means change for good. And this aligns with our tenet of continuous improvement. A Kaizen Blitz is a focused short term process improvement event with a duration that might last half a day to a few days. And employees are focused only on that event. The tools and analyses are relatively basic, and the quick solutions are immediately implemented. For DMAIC and Six Sigma, the duration is longer, maybe months or even years, and employees participate part-time as needed. They attend to their other job responsibilities most of the time. Tools and analyses are very detailed, and the more involved solutions take longer to apply. So it's called a Kaizen Blitz. It's meant to be fast. One related Kaizen term is Yokoten, meaning sharing learning across the organization. We also see the value stream map again. Recall that the textbook describes the value stream map as a pictorial representation of the sequence of all items, events, and people required to produce an end result, such as our products and services. It maps out the entire organization as one process, a one-page flowchart. In this case, we have a four-step production process: milling, welding, painting, and then assembly and inspection. And the important step in the value stream map is to identify value and non-value added activity via Tim Woods. Recall our definition of value as something the customer is willing to pay for. Following the flow here, raw materials arrive from suppliers, but then sit in inventory for about 5 days. The triangles labeled I represent inventory. So that inventory is not value add. The materials then go through milling, which takes 2 minutes per item. You see the CT, the cycle time. That is value add. But then there's a changeover that takes 2 hours. So we'll end up making a lot of items at once. Again, that's a push that makes excess inventory, not the single piece flow that lean wants. Then the work in process sits in inventory for 10 days, not value add, and then enters welding, which takes 4 minutes. That is value add, but then sits in inventory again, not value add. And then we go to painting, which takes 7 minutes, value add, but then sits in inventory again, not value add. Then on to assembly and inspection, which takes 2 minutes of value added time. But then shipping takes 30 days, and most of that is not value added time. So in full, the lead time is 68 days. including that non-value added activity. The value add activity is only 15 minutes. So can we really get this down to 15 minutes? Probably not, but we can certainly be better than 68 days. We can apply lean tools to chip away at the different sources of waste to drastically reduce the wasted time. Again, the value stream map helps us identify non-value added activities to target continuous improvement, Kaizen. And value stream maps can apply to any organization, including those that produce services. A third lean tool is quality at the source, which means that quality should be verified at every step of the production process rather than being checked in full only at the end. In other words, each employee is responsible for the quality of their own work and should not pass along any items with quality concerns. So instead of relying on a separate quality department, each person ensures quality before passing it on to the next step. That is, problems are identified and resolved immediately at their origin. In fact, employees can stop the entire production process to fix the concern before it gets passed along or escalates. Jidoka. Employees have the authority to pull the cord and stop the line to fix a defect at its source. And this often involves visual alerts of problems called andon. The next lean tool is 5S. The 5 S's, which loosely translate from Japanese as sort, meaning separate necessary items from unnecessary ones, then keep only what's needed for the work. Then straighten or set in order. Arrange necessary items logically. Everything has a designated place for easy access and use. The saying is a place for everything and everything in its place. Then shine or sweep. Clean the work area thoroughly and regularly. And then standardize. Create consistent procedures and visual controls to maintain the first 3 S's. And then finally, sustain. Make 5S a habit and core part of the daily routine to ensure continuous adherence. And for this class, we can summarize 5S as a clean, easy to understand, meaning intuitive, visual workspace. Everything is easy to find and put back. And even someone who's not familiar with a workspace can quickly come up to speed. Let's try to visualize 5S with some examples. For instance, a shadow board makes tools easy to find. It quickly shows where each tool belongs and when one's missing. And a color-coded work table with labels helps organize clutter. And then carts, bins, and even trash cans have their specific labeled spot on a clean floor. And then signage around a facility makes locations easy to see and to show to others. Our kids had fun applying 5S to our spices. They first checked all the spices for expiration and duplicates. And they also labeled the tops for easy visual recognition. And then they used composite materials to create risers to improve the line of sight. So 5S can work anywhere. Our 5th lean tool is a flexible workforce, where employees are cross-trained over multiple roles. And this can offer several benefits, one of which is we can more easily increase or decrease workers in one area to match changes in demand, Shojinka. And number 2, if a problem arises in one area, other employees can flex in to help. And number 3, if an employee is absent, someone can flex into their role rather than shutting down that function until they return. As examples, Trader Joe's employees, they're known as crew members for the South Seas Island theme of the brand. They're all cross trained and capable of performing every store function: product displays, cash registers, tasting stations, stocking shelves, open and close, as well as offer expert knowledge of products to provide authentic recommendations to customers. Trader Joe's really wants the employees to engage with the customers. And then Aldi, if a register line has no customers, the employee will be nearby handling other duties like cleaning. They'll see you put your items on the belt and they'll flex over to ring you up. An idea that's somewhat related to flexible workforce is Gemba. Taiichi Ono of Toyota said that improvement cannot happen from behind a desk or just by looking at data. Leaders must go and see to gain full understanding of operations. And we can look to our benchmarks for inspiration here. For instance, Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart, insisted on management by walking around. He would also visit competitor stores to find any new ideas for his own store. And then Amancio Ortega of Inditex had no office. He was always walking the shop floor, and he knew all the workers by name, and he always asked them what was wrong and how he and the organization could do better. Here's a great quote from football coach Nick Saban, who won 7 national titles. He said that average players want to be left alone, good players want to be coached, and great players want to be told the truth. And next, Elon Musk at Tesla had a term called walking the red, where he personally evaluates the production line, moving from problem to problem with monitors showing problems and bottlenecks. And then finally, James Dyson, the vacuum cleaner guy, generalizes that you can't lead your employees by isolating yourself from them. Let's also consider just in time, which is typically attached to lean principles. And you may remember just in time, or JIT, from your operations or supply chain classes. The text defines just in time as producing outputs as needed by the customer. Historically, in high volume production environments, producers carry lots and lots of inventory. Remember, lean doesn't like inventory. With just in time, the basic idea is to reduce that inventory so that you have high volume production with minimal inventory. So on the surface, just in time seems like a simple inventory management approach. However, it has close ties to quality and process improvement. Recall that inventory is a source of waste. It's the I in Tim Woods. In fact, inventory can hide problems. We hold excess inventory just in case. Just in case our suppliers deliver late, or they deliver in the wrong quantities, or they deliver defective materials, or perhaps we produce defects in production. Visualize a boat on a lake, and the water represents the inventory, and then issues such as late supplier deliveries and defects are represented by rocks on the bottom of the lake. So with enough water, meaning inventory, we can easily get past the rocks, those issues, but that inventory is costing us money. So ideally, we like to reduce it. With less water, meaning less inventory, our boat will get stuck. So we have to reduce or eliminate those rocks, the issues. And now our boat can pass with less water, less inventory. We no longer carry the just in case inventory because we've eliminated the underlying problems. As such, just in time goes well beyond the idea of minimizing inventory. It's also about improving processes, both within your organization and with your suppliers, such that they're always delivering that perfect order as needed for production. So, just in time is about process improvement as much as it is about reducing inventory. With these ideas, just in time has multiple benefits. It's win win. We reduce inventory and we reduce underlying problems. First, we reduce the inventory, which means lower holding costs, including less storage space, and reduced cash investment in inventory. Then, number two, we reduce the underlying problems that create the need for that just in case inventory, including late deliveries, wrong delivered quantities, poor supplier quality, and even our own production quality issues. To close this section, organizations sometimes represent the tools and concepts of lean as a house, including pillars. The roof represents the ultimate goal of the system, such as low cost, short lead times. And the pillars include just in time and Jidoka, which support the roof, meaning the goals. And the foundation includes a stable base of standardized work and Kaizen, continuous improvement. Then other principles tend to be represented within the house. And this house of lean tends to vary a bit by organization as they make it their own.